All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of James Bond Live 009. And today we have a few guests here with us, some usual and someone new. I believe William Bentley Blackburn is our new guest. Why don't you say hi and introduce yourself, William?
Yeah, hey guys. My name is Will Blackburn. I recently got into cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and politics about a year ago. I was in Bitcoin in 2013, but really got into it in 2016. And ever since then, I've been following it. I've been trying to go to protests like Trump rallies and fake news protests at CNN. So I'm trying to gear my channel towards freedom, liberty, and what is the best thing for humanity. Like what will make people more free at the end of the day. And whatever that is, I'll report on it. And my goal is to beat the social engineers at the end of the day.
Excellent. Great intro. All right, and of
Thanks.
course, returning back is Brian McLaughlin. Say hello, Brian.
I don't
Hello,
think
Brian.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that was good enough. and of course,
Howdy, everybody.
and of course, this is James Bond, and you're watching on my channel here. And so let me start off with real quick at the beginning. Let me start off with Brian because Brian has cracked the code to the treasure hunt. Tell us how you did it, Brian, so everyone else can try to learn from you and hopefully compete with you a little bit. It's so easy for you.
Well, James, it's not necessarily easy for me, but I will share the technique and what I did to get this one. Basically, we were all given the first three by the three of us who were on the show that day, and the fourth one you put in there on your own. The very first thing I had guessed, you were going to have something James Bond related, and also you kept pointing out to everybody that a number was chosen again, both myself and the chap from the UK. And so that made me think it was going to be a number, James Bond related. So it had to be 007. It didn't work. I went through 162 more different possible combinations of other UK, MI6, SIS, and those didn't work out. So I was doing research on James Bond, and then I learned that the 00 was literally O and not the number like I had always thought. And so I tried that and it worked.
Yes, that is correct. You're very good. And plus, another thing I was doing was I kept saying a special episode, 007, and,
Right.
and I was trying to basically tell everyone without letting everyone this is the passcode. And this episode I was going to try to give out the clue, and the clue was going to be license to kill. And if you did research on it, you realize the 00 means license to kill. And so, but you already found out. But anyways, I am going to make this episode a license to kill episode, because one of the things we're going to talk about is if we did have a license to kill, right? And you don't have to kill a person unless you want to. But what person, project, or thing would you kill in this world if you did have a license to kill? And I'll go over to William on that, and let's see what your response is.
Okay, the project that I'd kill is got to be Agenda 2030 or Agenda 21, the globalist plan for global dominance and enslavement, rule by the elites. That would be the number one thing that I'd like to get rid of. And that's what I'm gearing my channel towards.
Right, yeah, I noticed your channel's kind of like that. You talk a little bit about Bitcoin or a little bit about cryptocurrencies in general.
Right.
And do you think like cryptocurrencies will help in doing that? I mean, is there a way you think that like decentralized money will free you from this sort of enslavement? Because I do have a certain same mindset as you, and that's one of the reasons why I did get into cryptocurrency, because I do see money being used to control the people, to control the masses.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I see the potential for it to happen. It's not guaranteed, nothing ever is, but If we can maintain the decentralized nature of cryptocurrencies, then yes, it has the potential to end the global banking cartel, and it will revolutionize the way we think of money. And a lot of people will make the argument that Bitcoin isn't money, but at the same time, gold isn't money either. We just give it a value, and we give Bitcoin a value, and we give the dollar a value. Unfortunately, the differences between the dollar and Bitcoin and gold is that the people gave Bitcoin and gold a value. The dollar was given value by the Fed, by a centralized entity, by an old hag that is out of the New York Fed. And she gives it value by either inflating the currency or by printing more money or by raising interest rates. And that's the problem that I have. A centralized system just cannot survive. And that's what we live in right now. So we'll see.
All right. How about you, Brian? If you had a license to kill, what would or who would you kill?
I would use my license to kill on something intangible. Complacency.
Ah, that's pretty good.
What would you do? Would you offer them Bitcoin?
it doesn't matter. It's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
All right. So just get off your ass, right? Just get off your ass and do something is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a pull yourself up by the bootstrap. If you can have all sorts of rhetoric, but if it is just that, not backed by anything, it's fiat, such as our currency, which is also not backed by anything. Therefore, it's not going to do anything. So, come the inertia.
Good point. Good point. So actions speak louder than words is what you're saying.
I just didn't want to say that.
Okay. All right. Another subject I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad William kind of talked about it a little bit, or it just came up in my mind while William was talking. Did you hear about the capital controls on Bitcoin when you travel, when you come back, or when you leave, or when you come back into the U.S.? Have you heard about that? Because I believe, I don't know if you all seen Adam Meister's show, but he was saying he was detained when he came back to the U.S., and they were asking him if he had any Bitcoins.
Crazy.
That's crazy, but how real is that? How realistic is that? Because what ways would you, like, what ways, let me ask you guys, how about this? What ways could you totally circumvent that whole situation and still have your Bitcoins on you when you get to and from the places that you're going when you leave the country? Do you have any idea?
Just tell them no. I mean, you could just send, you could send the Bitcoin. You know, that's a good question, actually, because you could put it on a paper wallet, but then they'll just search your bags, and then they'll see a QR code with a Bitcoin address, and they'll say, "Oh, this is Bitcoin." We'll see. If you had a hardware wallet, you might be able to play it off as a USB drive. You say, "Oh, yeah, this is just a USB drive," because they're not going to know. I mean, the TSA agents, all they're interested in doing is groping you and fondling you. They're not really going to worry about someone with a hardware wallet or something like that. They're not going to know what it is.
You know what's funny is I've been, I mean, just to fly through an airport, because I go to the Houston International Airport one time, and even the local smaller one, the Hobby Airport, they have these machines, and they scan your whole body, these body scans, right? But they won't let children go in there. So when I had my kids, they told me to go around, and I went through the regular metal detector. But when I went by myself, I had a fractured collarbone, and so when it scanned me, it told them that I had something right here on my collarbone, my left side, and then I had ear gel that you put in your ears so I could so it reduces noise, and they saw that, and so the guy literally touched my penis when he did that.
Oh man!
I mean, he checked the pants area, then he touched my penis, and I was like, "What the hell is going on, man?" So you're right. think you're right. The guy was the guy. There are gropers out there, man.
They don't play games. They really don't play games. It's absurd. Like, did you see that video that was recently on that went viral of that TSA agent touching that kid? Like he was.
Oh no! What happened?
Yeah, it was like looked like a maybe 8, maybe 10-year-old kid, and the TSA agent's like just fondling the kid, like touching him all over, and he's like getting real close to him. It was probably the creepiest thing I've ever seen. But yeah, no, that happened, and a lot of people got pissed. I think Philip DeFranco covered it, as a matter of fact. And I mean, just like,
yeah, that's probably why they don't allow kids to go through the scanners, because they know the TSA agents are going to grope them. So.
That's so messed up. And you know, our tax dollars pay for that. Like, wow, how great, wonderful. And it's a mess. It really is a mess. You know, I think in Mexico or South America, they've privatized a lot of the flying, and they don't actually have any problems, and they just have armed security guards walking around with, you know, I mean, they have, you know, like AR-15s and assault rifles, but they've never had a problem. You know, they don't get frisked. They don't get, you know, groped. I'm not sure if that was Mexico or some other South American country, but yeah, they don't have any TSA agents. They have no problems.
So when you go and you travel, like let's say you're going out of the country and back into the country, you would just tell the customs agent that, or the TSA agent, no, you don't have any Bitcoins. You would just say straight up no, and that would be it. Because
Yeah. I mean, how are they going to know?
Yeah, normally when people have over $10,000, I mean, it's just literally your word against theirs. You just say no. I mean, they can search your bags and everything, but finding Bitcoin on, I mean, I don't know if these people realize Bitcoins don't physically exist at all. So how are they going to find it?
Right.
I mean, they find a you know, a QR code. It could be to nothing. It could be the QR code to the information to the cheese that I bought, you know. So
yeah, it's kind of a joke. It really is a joke. And you can just, if you have it on your phone, they're not going to check your phone. I do know that they have started cracking down on that. Like at the border, they've been starting to check people's phones and requiring people to unlock their passwords and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're not going to have to worry about that. Like if you have your Bitcoin on your phone, if you have a Bitcoin wallet on your phone, most of these people, they don't know how to use it. They've never even heard of Bitcoin. So you can just say, no, I don't have it. And even if they search your phone and it said Bitcoin wallet on there, they're not going to even know that it's Bitcoin wallet. They have no idea. Because they just, and really, why would they care? You know, why would they care that you have Bitcoin? It just doesn't make sense.
I've been watching other YouTubers and they talked about it. I've been hearing it on the news and articles, and supposedly if they know, they may even know, because you know we YouTube a lot, and
right.
You know we write up Medium articles, so there might be a good chance that, you know, for some reason you go to the airport and you travel overseas, they may ask you and search your belongings for Bitcoin. I find that kind of weird. How about you, Brian? I mean, would you know how to circumvent all that stuff, or would you just not have any Bitcoin? But what would you try to do to circumvent that? Because I believe it is easier to do that than it is to not have any Bitcoin.
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you okay, Brian?
Yeah, it sounded like you fell over or something.
Yeah. No, I just went outside. You know, I have to smoke, right? So I can't do that inside. Not like Ozzy. I don't own my own place. I rent a room, so I can't just smoke wherever I want, you know.
No problems, man. No problems.
Okay, so the question is not, can you fool the TSA and get Bitcoin past them? The question is, the best way to do something is the legal way, so that when they ask you questions, you can be truthful with them. So, sure, they don't know how to tell you're lying right now, but they will someday. So let's think toward that time. Again, still the best way to get by those people especially whenever their technology is advanced enough to know if you're lying, is that you not be lying and you not have any Bitcoin on you. So there are several ways to do that, right? One way is to memorize private keys or seeds and reconstitute them once you get somewhere.
True.
That's one. There are other ways to go for it, but maybe we shouldn't talk about those. People get the idea.
No, that's a good point.
Well,
Very
here's
good
the
point.
thing. It's, from what I understand, is that if you just own any cryptocurrency, like literally, they want you to report it, right, as if you had $10,000 on you. But the fact of the matter is, these things are no different than having $10,000 in your bank account. Why should you have to report this just because you can use it at your destination? That it's possible for you to use this just as if you used your credit card. If you have a credit line of $10,000, why would you have to report, you know, I have a credit line of $10,000? Do I have to report, like, claim my credit card? You know, so
When I fly, I never have much cash on me, but I know there's a point where you have to start declaring how much cash you have. What is that threshold?
$10,000
Yeah.
in physical
So,
currency. But now they want like if you just own $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency, they want you to claim it.
That's crazy.
you have to
That is really
declare
crazy.
you have to declare your earnings, and this is just for international travel or domestic as well.
I think it's international because it seems like anybody who returns, any U.S. citizen that returns, you have to declare it, or maybe even go abroad. But if you own, like, if just owning 10,000, does that mean you have to declare it?
Now, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, it's the same as having it, as you said, your credit card limit or money in your bank that you can use with a card over there anywhere. So,
I mean, it's all really just a fraud, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's all just a massive scam. They're always looking for ways to invade your privacy. Like, they shouldn't care how much Bitcoin you have. It's irrelevant to them at the end of the day, to tell you the truth. But unfortunately, the government always finds ways to butt in and get in your way and stifle progress. It's really too
well, you
bad.
know what, William? The thing about that is you have to work within the system that's set up. So like I said before, you have to be able to look at them straight in the face and say, no, sir, I don't have any Bitcoins. And that has to be true, right?
Right.
At the same time, you can work and help others through your words get over their complacency so they can fight against things like that. So we'll make sure it doesn't happen.
Right.
Now let me ask, like, what happens if you have a trésor, right? Would they seize the trésor? I mean, how far are they going to go with this to prove? What if you just have a trésor, have nothing on it? I mean, and plus the other thing is there's so many ways around this. The enforcement is literally impossible. And like you were saying, Brian, just memorizing the 12-word seed, or how about some of the stuff that I do with treasure hunts? I literally show you the private key that's been encrypted, but without, like, literally almost giving you most of the code. It almost would be very impossible to know what the password is. And then you get to your destination, like literally you have no Bitcoin on you. You could simply just literally lie about how many Bitcoins you own because no one would know. It'd be nearly impossible. And then when you get to the other side, I mean, you could just do some of the things that I've done with the treasure hunt. Just go watch a video, scan a QR code, and put in your password, and voila, you've got, you know, X amount of Bitcoins that you can do whatever you want over wherever you are, and then come back later and do the same thing. Make another stupid video with the QR code with the password, or even email you the private key that's been password protected, or even the backup seed. So I'm wondering, how realistic is this? Is this going too far? What are your thoughts? Is this going too far, or is this just a way of life we're going to have to get used to, for as a cryptocurrency enthusiast or user?
Well, let's just play this scenario out. You know, when we get smart contracts, for example, you could set up a smart contract to send money from your Bitcoin wallet in, you know, your home state or from your house. Set up a smart contract. It'll send you Bitcoin once you arrive to the country location. You can send whatever. Then you just set up another smart contract to send that Bitcoin back to your home address or whatever. So you do something like that, and then when you go to the airport, you're like, yeah, no, I don't have any Bitcoin on me. It's already in a smart contract, and then it'll send later on. There's so many ways to get around it. You know, the thing about criminalization is there will always be ways around the law, right? There will always be a way around the law, and criminals will always find a way to do that. So to tell you the truth, it has definitely it's going to get too far. But people will push back and they'll find innovative ways to work around it. You know, they'll always find ways to work around the laws.
Okay. Yeah. And do you think some of this has to do with, I mean, a fear? Are they cracking down on money? I also hear that a lot in the news, that governments around the world are now cracking down on people that have money. And is that another way of controlling the masses?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the first Rothschilds, I don't remember his name, but he was one of the first ones. He said, I don't care who the leaders are in a country, just give me the money supply and I can control the country. He said something like that. But yeah, money can be used to control just about anything, especially these days, because we rely on it so much. You know, it pays for your food, pays for your house, pays your bills. You can't pay for your bills in you know, silver or whatever. I mean, you might be able to, but most people aren't going to be able to do that. You have to pay in dollars or some other fiat currency. But yeah, they've definitely been cracking down. I know, like in India, they just like banned a certain denomination. It's like, okay, that makes no sense.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense to try and do that, because we're in a technical age now. We're on the internet. Governments are always 2 steps behind in technical innovation. You know, they are always behind, and we're 2 steps ahead. So we have the technological advantage right now. It says Martin made an interesting point here. Could be a scare tactic by the government to keep people out of crypto. Yeah, that actually is a good point. You know, that could be one of those things. It just say, hey, you know, governments come out and they say, okay, Bitcoin's illegal. And that might scare some people. But I think
Right.
people are so fed up now with their governments and the banking system and all of it, that they're probably going to be like, oh, well, you know what? Screw you. We're just going to do it anyway. And I think it'll probably have the opposite effect of what they want at this point, because people are so fed up.
You know, what's interesting is I recently did make a video about my trip over to Canada, and I made an emphasis how you can just go ahead and, you know, go from New York to Niagara, you know, New York, Niagara, New York, and Niagara, and on the Canadian side, and you could
Right.
literally just go back and forth and never claim any money, but yet you could possibly have millions and millions of dollars worth of crypto. You can transact in New York and whatever, go to the casino, win $1 billion, buy a whole bunch of Bitcoins while you're in New York or in the US, and then just walk over the border and they'll ask you how much money you have, and they can even search you. They'll never find any money. And then when you go to Canada, you just find a buyer for your Bitcoins, and then boom, you just got all this cash on you that you can do, and you could just do that back and forth. I find that kind of weird that I made that video, and I actually, you know, did do some trades going back and forth to New York like that, being from the U.S. and Canada, or going from U.S. to Canada like that. And all of a sudden, a couple months, at least a month, about a month later, all of a sudden, now it's the customs agent now has to ask whether you have Bitcoins or not, and then now they're searching you. You know, it's so weird.
It's really strange.
I wonder, are they watching YouTube channels to get information on cryptocurrency users? I mean, this is crazy.
Well, a more likely scenario is that the AI is watching a lot of these videos. And
Let's go on that, because you talk a lot about AI and how that's really taking over a lot of the surveillance. I think you mentioned that in some of your videos. Go ahead, please.
yeah, sure. So I have, like I say, I've been in technology now for probably 11 years, and I've been following it for a long time. And one of the biggest things that everyone's always talked about is artificial intelligence. They've always been interested in it. The elites, guys like even Elon Musk, Ray Kurzweil, he's like this chief technical officer at Google. They've been obsessed with artificial intelligence, because if you have a powerful enough artificial intelligence system, then you can use it to read and even manipulate what people think. You know, you can follow people on Facebook. Facebook has a really powerful artificial intelligence system, where what they do is that AI system is used to filter content. It's used to understand what the emotions of certain people are. So it recently came out in the news that Facebook was manipulating the feelings of vulnerable teenagers. So, you know, on Facebook, people will go, "Oh, I broke up with my boyfriend. I broke up with my girlfriend. I'm so depressed." Well, you might see an ad on your Facebook or something like that for an antidepressant, for example. Well, that is all done by artificial intelligence, every single bit of that. When you go and look up lawnmower online, and then you go to Facebook or you go to Amazon or whatever, it'll suggest lawnmowers. Again, that's all done by AI, every single bit of that. Now, I've started to notice a trend with Ethereum, for example, that it is a platform to create decentralized applications. Well, I have posed the question, what will happen when you put in a very powerful artificial intelligence system onto an Ethereum decentralized application on the decentralized computer? Now you can't turn it off. And what happens later? Now, you could say, well, it could be positive, but at the same time, you have to look at the negative too. You know, the AI could just be used to shut people down, you know, just turn off the internet for no unknown reason. It could shut down power grids. I mean, it would be really crazy to see what would happen if you put an artificial intelligence system on a platform that you can't shut off. If you can't shut down the system, there's no fail-safe. That would be could be quite detrimental. I think AI is going to could be a positive thing though. Like I think there are real good use cases for artificial intelligence, and I think I posed this in my videos where, like for example, when we become an interplanetary, you know, civilization, where we start traveling to Mars and we start traveling to Centauri, when we start traveling to all these different places, we're going to have these massive ships, and you can't have a massive ship that is controlled solely by humans. You're going to have some form of artificial intelligence system to keep up with maintenance. So, for example, if you have a valve that goes bad or something like that on deck 20 in the back of the ship or whatever, that artificial intelligence system is going to have to tell you. You're not going to necessarily be able to have a crew member at every single location telling you, yeah, this one's bad and needs to be replaced or something like that. So that's just one example. But overall, I think AI can be used for good things. But unfortunately, the social engineers, the globalists, the Agenda 2030 folks, they want to use it to control the population. And that's where I have the problem with it.
Now, let me ask you: do you think they're going to use Ethereum for doing all those contracts?
I actually do believe that they are going to use Ethereum to put in they're going to create a decentralized artificial intelligence system. Yeah, because Ethereum, I don't know if you've ever heard of Cliff High, but he kind of goes into detail about this, where Ethereum is going to be used for machine-to-machine transactions. And it's really not, it's cutting out the human aspect. You know, Ethereum is not a currency for humans, but it's a currency for robots, where you'll have a machine pay another machine to do a certain task. And then the Ethereum gets burned up. And then, you know, new Ethereum is added onto it, into the marketplace, and the machines keep paying each other. So yeah, I think that Ethereum definitely has a big role in this, especially considering they are, just to give an example, you've got Microsoft, JP Morgan, BP, you've got Santander, you've got all these mega institutions from Wall Street and Silicon Valley, and even the United Nations. They're all getting behind this project. And there's a reason for it. There's, like you said earlier, there's a whole lot behind the scenes that we don't know about. We're not allowed to know about a lot of the things that are going on behind the scenes. Not necessarily just Ethereum, but also Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, you make a good point. Maybe the price of Ethereum and all these ICOs are all done by an AI who's driving up the price. That's kind of very interesting here. And Brian, do you have any thoughts on this? AIs in the future or AIs now? Because that's one of the reasons why I stopped doing Facebook. I never want to do Twitter. I stopped doing all this social media stuff because I always had this weird feeling that, and maybe it's always been my paranoia, but that people have been watching. People can watch, and we live in a day and age where no one has to spy on each other. I just have to go to your Facebook, and I know where you are. I know what you're doing. It's almost like we volunteer all our information and don't realize how important privacy is.
Well, yeah, I'll address that last part that you said in a moment, but I'm going to go back to the beginning. Someone who I think is very intelligent and thinks about the future a lot, Elon Musk, said that he did not like what Google was doing with artificial intelligence. So that makes me wary right off the bat. Sorry about the noise. The machine-to-machine transfer with Ethereum being money for computers, that's like a blockchain of things, I guess. And James, what was the last thing you said?
Oh, I was just talking about the privacy aspects of it, and I think you wanted to address that.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we all know that if you really want to be private with Bitcoin or most cryptocurrencies, there are extra steps you're going to have to take that most new users or even users that have been in for a little bit don't know, because everyone touts it as being private so much. And it's unfortunate that it's not the case. I got started on Facebook in 2011 because I started working on independent films as like a side thing I was doing. And before that, I did not want to be on a Facebook. I was on 6 Degrees, which is like Facebook's grandfather before MySpace. And that was pretty cool. But yeah, I resisted Facebook for all the reasons you said. And then I got on it. And I still try to use it sparingly, even though sometimes a lot of things I participate in has me get tagged in pictures. That's mainly what you're going to see on my page.
One thing that James had mentioned, he brought up that a lot of the ICOs and stuff, they're being funded by AI computers, right? Well, it's funny you mentioned that because it came out literally, I think this came out at 12:47 today. Resistance Technologies, the $65 billion hedge fund, is actually being investigated by the Federal Reserve or the feds for its software code in trading and its algorithms. And this came out this is on the New York Post. So yeah, they're being investigated right now for the algorithms that they're using to trade.
Who is being investigated, William?
Renaissance Technologies. I'll post the link in the chat. Let me see.
Are they a crypto company?
No, this is actually a hedge fund, and they also develop. They develop. What do you call it? They develop other technologies as well. So let me send you. I'll send you a link in the chat. You can take a look at it. But yeah, it's very interesting. You know, these stock markets, the gold market, silver market, everything is controlled by an algorithm. Like, for example, in New York, where the stock exchange, where main stock exchange is, they have whole facilities that are built specifically to trade, like nanoseconds. Like, it's so crazy, and they even get so specific that every wire in the facility is actually, they have to measure like the link, or they measure the wire or whatever, just to make sure that they're getting that extra speed in trades. So you can't win in the stock market because it's totally rigged by algorithms. I actually think it's not just the stock market or the gold market. I think the crypto market is even being manipulated to a certain extent. Probably not to the level that the stock market is, but I think it's definitely being influenced by some form of artificial intelligence or something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah, there are some trading bots right now that will trade based on an algorithm, but it wouldn't be surprised that you got some hedge funds in there trading on these ICOs, because it just blows me away how some of the ICOs on the Ethereum blockchain has been selling out in minutes. Like, who does that? Like, that fact, it takes me more than 5 minutes just to maybe log on. Well, I wouldn't say 5, but at least a minute to log on, and then push another button to buy, the ICO coin. And speaking of ICOs, there was another. I think it was a Stratus. I'm not sure. I think it was Stratus.
I think it's Status. I think it was Status.
Status.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, Status. They're coming up with some weird names for these ICO, but apparently this raised $270 million, and it caused a lot of backlog on the Ethereum blockchain. How far do you think this whole thing can keep going? Because I'm looking at Status, and I'm seeing what's happening with that. Could that be the signal that this might be the beginning of the end of the ICO on the Ethereum blockchain? At least, will people start moving over to like Ethereum Classic, and then Waves, and then I think it's Omni, and then some other platforms as well?
So James, on your video, when you were doing the review of the Coinami wallet and you looked at Ethereum and you saw all of the different ICOs in which you could write the contracts if you knew what to put into each of those fields that they have. So these ICOs sell out so quickly because they're all performed by contracts that were written well ahead of time of the ICO. In fact, these smart contracts for the ICOs are the only proven case uses of smart contracts on the Ethereum network so far. And in regard to Ethereum Classic and maybe a switchover, you also notice that on Ethereum Classic on Coinami wallet, there were no dApps listed. So there's a lot of room there. There's not a lot of utilization of that blockchain right now. And as more people build dApps on Ethereum, then their blockchain is going to be bigger. Transaction times are going to slow down. The blockchain is going to be larger to house. And I've discussed how that's going to cause problems with the Ethereum Alliance, with the only ones that can actually have the hard drive space to hold the blockchain for Ethereum with all those different dApps and their transactions on them. So Ethereum Classic looks good in that sense as well.
Absolutely. I think Ethereum Classic probably holds more to they probably have a better philosophy, because when they split because they did not want to change the blockchain. They didn't want to change or mute the blockchain at all. And I can respect that team and that project a whole lot better. But I've heard that there's a lot of infighting amongst the people that are developing Ethereum Classic. Is that correct?
No, this is the first time I've heard this news. I don't really pay attention to some of the altcoins too much, but please continue.
If Satoshi Dan's in the chat room, he'll know. He supports Ethereum Classic strongly.
Yeah, I think I heard it on the Cryptoverse. I think I heard him talk about it, like there was some infighting or something like that. But I'm not too sure, and don't quote me on that. I'll definitely make sure to check that out. But yeah, there's so many projects. Like I actually am interested in RSK, for example. They got a pretty good smart contracts platform that they're building, and also it's kind of a similar thing as well to Ethereum, and the fact that you could probably do machine to machine payment systems. There's always other projects out there that will address similar, if not more. Well, let's put it this way. There will be projects that are like Ethereum, but that work a lot better than Ethereum. And these are just the first applications of a lot of these projects. Like a lot of these cryptocurrencies, it's just the first version of them. And new projects will come out that are very similar, but they've improved on the previous blockchain or the previous project. And it just gets better and better. So we'll see where it goes, but I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think that the more the blockchain gets bloated on Ethereum, and if this ICO continues, or at least the rage, this rage of ICO continues, and Ethereum can't handle it, I think that may affect Ethereum pricing, because I've seen the price today. I don't know how much of it's related to the Bitcoin Segwit 2x being reaching an 80% consensus with the miners, or signaling for 80%. I don't know how much of that is, or how much of it is basically because of yesterday of status blocking up the network, and it's basically showing some capacity issues on their chain. But
Right.
if that's the first signal, then, and that's kind of like the winding down phase of that blockchain, I could start seeing Ethereum Classic start to pick up on some of that, as well as Waves is another platform. So and apparently they're cheaper, and they may have more capacity. So the ICO rage, it may still have some legs before I think some of this stuff is going to go down, because right now I don't see a lot of use. I know that you said you like the BAT token, but I have no experience with that whatsoever. I usually wait about 3, maybe 5 years before I start looking into things. I let everyone else be the guinea pigs, and then after seeing what happens, I come in and I'll go, okay, you guys all
It's a smart
survived.
move.
I'll come in now after it's been battle tested by everyone else.
No, that's a smart move. I don't like. I didn't invest in the ICO. I've read on it and I've looked on it. I kind of understand it a little bit. It's a good idea, but it's all theory. I mean, so I say, yeah, it's a great idea in theory, but I'm not necessarily going to just jump right into it and say, yeah, okay.
Now, let me ask you, William, what coins do you have as far as your portfolio? Obviously, you must have some coins. That's why you're involved here.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm pretty much Bitcoin and Litecoin. Those are my two main interests. I've bought into MadeSafe a little bit because I just like the project, and I don't necessarily know if the price is going to go up or not, but that's not what's important to me as far as what they're trying to do, is concerned. I just like the project. But yeah, Bitcoin and Litecoin is really my two investments. That's where most of my crypto investments are. And then I also have silver. I'm a silver investor as well.
Okay, awesome. Let me move on to the whole Segwit debate here, if there is a Segwit debate.
Okay.
Let me ask you, William, because you're new, and I just want to know your perspective. Do you think this Segwit was about scaling, or do you think this was about control or politics?
I am going to maintain that it's mostly politics, because this debate's been going on for 2 years, which, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but they could have definitely reached something by now, And I actually am totally behind the idea of testing all the different options first, and then making sure you've got the best one, and then going for that. I'm glad that they've been able to reach an agreement with the Segwit 2X. I'm glad of that for sure. But I think it's mostly politics, because they could have come to this conclusion a long time ago. They could have come to Segwit 2X a while back. And the fact that it's just now happening tells me that it's politics. And really the only reason it came to this was because of the user activated soft fork, BIP 148. Okay, you got the BIP 148 threat, and they say, all right, here, we'll do this. We'll come up with Segwit 2X. Is that fine? Does that work? That to me tells me it's probably mostly politics, because they didn't do anything until there was a serious threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I find that interesting that only after the user activated soft fork was there was a potential that it could have a soft fork. It could split the network, and the split that the miners side would have been on, probably most likely they would have been on, might be wiped out, might have reorganized back into the Segwit side of the fork, thus losing all their money, their Bitcoin. That probably motivated and made a big motivation for them, which tells me that they're not crazy. Okay, most of the miners out there, and I'm going to point my direction towards the Chinese miners specifically, because it seems like that's been the resistance. It seems like most of them are not that crazy. They are very rational. They
Right.
do want to make money. They would not want to do anything that would make them lose money. It just seems like a very few people had this idea of what I would call taking over the network, or steering the network, which would benefit them at the expense of the rest of the network, the rest of the miners in the community. So I'm happy. I'm happy, but I'm not. I haven't put my guard down yet, because even if this does activate, which essentially activates Segwit, basically activates BIP 141, there's still the issue of the 2 megabyte hard fork. And the reason why I have concern for that is because there's a potential at that point to split the network. So we're still not out of the woods yet, because there's still another battle after this. But the good news is, from what I understand, the ASIC boost will be no more. And then so that advantage is going to be gone after Segwit is activated. But my concern is, again, the 2 megabyte increase, because I do think, and I do think it's going to give the Chinese miners an advantage, specifically Bitmain, because they'll probably have newer machines. They probably already have newer machines or are making newer machines by the time the Segwit activates. And in my previous live stream, Yellow Fever was saying that would cause everybody else, all the other people's miners, the older miners, those machines to be obsolete. They would literally have to buy new miners. And so, again, that would put Bitmain and probably China in control, because they'll have the first strike advantage of getting those miners versus the rest of the world, maybe. So that's my concern.
Yeah,
Brian,
I actually think.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I think there's a problem with the whole Bitcoin mining situation. Like, there should be way more Bitcoin mining firms. Like, there shouldn't just be Bitmain. And I actually made a point in one of my other videos. I think I even titled it, "The lack of Bitcoin mining competition is ridiculous." The fact that we only have Bitmain as the main supplier of these chips is absurd. I don't like that there's kind of a monopoly there. And I would love to see there be more people come out and develop their own Bitcoin mining rigs. The problem is that it's already a losing proposition, right? You're going to lose at the end of the day, because
hold on. Before you continue, why don't you tell the audience like what you did, how you got into Bitcoin? Because I think you tried to mine your way into Bitcoin and Litecoin coins, right?
Yeah. So in 2013, I looked into Bitcoin mining because I was looking into, different ways of making money. And I heard of this Bitcoin thing, and I heard of some altcoins. And so I wanted to try and set up my own. But Bitcoin miners themselves were extremely expensive. And buying those little USB, the USB miners, ridiculous. It was just too expensive. So I decided, all right, I'm going to build a Bitcoin mining rig, like, with the graphics cards and the motherboard and all that kind of stuff. Well, I had bought a couple parts and I started mining Dogecoin because that was the most profitable at the time. Um, every miner is always looking for the most profitable coin. They don't care about anything else. So I was mining Dogecoin, but it was just too expensive. I mean, the whole mining process, it costs a lot of money to get into it. And I saw that as a problem from the very get-go. But since then, I just kind of left, and I never, I forgot about it and moved on with my life because there was plenty of other things I had to do. But yeah, like I say, I think Bitcoin mining, there should be a diversity, a huge, industry built on top of that's decentralized and distributed, et cetera, because there's no competition. And I saw that early on, like there was a big problem there. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into Bitcoin, was I wanted to mine it. And since I had no idea how to trade, and I was only making $7.25 at Subway, so I had to spend my money on other things, and so I just left. It's kind of the way it worked.
Okay. All right. Let me go to Brian, and I do agree with you. I think mining has always been a difficult proposition because there's always a pressure for you to sell your coins, whatever coins that you're in, to recover the cost of the equipment, and then you have a reoccurring cost of electricity,
Mm-hmm.
and you're always under pressure, which puts, if you don't find a buyer in a over the counter, a peer-to-peer trade, that forces you to dump your coins over the exchange, which depresses the price. And when you depress the price, if there's like a whole bunch of miners doing the same thing, well, that lowers the price, which causes pressure on you to lose out more. And so it's almost it almost seems like a losing proposition, at least since 2013, because the trend was the price of most even Bitcoin and Litecoin was going down from there. Although when it was high, it was probably making money. That's if you could mine, but most people just ended up not getting their miners, unfortunately. So Brian, let me get back to you. And what is your whole thing about the recent news of the Segwit X2 that seems like a lot of the Chinese miners have been signaling for?
Well, you originally asked if it was about politics, right?
Oh yeah, whether it was whether the issue was really about scaling or really about politics. Yes.
Well, if you look at Litecoin and how smoothly everything went, they met, they voted, they tested, they transitioned, they activated, and everything was fine. Once that happened, that allowed everyone to see it was possible for it to happen and to identify any other method of trying to go about something like this as just mere shenanigans.
Now you compared it to Litecoin, and it seemed very similar to the way Litecoin activated their Segwit, which they had a roundtable, and it took Charlie Lee some hustling. In this case, this was Barry Silbert acting as a moderator to this. Do you think that's a good thing to have? Is these roundtables?
Well,
Is that the future of how we're going to come up with newer, like, future consensus?
the point here is it was political for Bitcoin. They've been bickering and bantering about forks and chains, side chains, and this and that for so long, and nothing's happened. And when Litecoin decided to all come together and do something, it was a very smooth process. Bitcoin did not do that. they were too much. There was too much infighting or too much political aspirations amongst people who thought they could control Bitcoin. So the only way they even got to where they came and sat down and talked about two activation is because of the fact that Litecoin was able to show us that Bitcoin can do it also. And if they don't, it is merely politics.
Okay. Yeah, I always felt that when I got involved with Bitcoin, I never paid attention to much of this because I was too busy with the peer-to-peer trade. I was going around meeting people, buying Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin. Just too busy to pay attention to this. Only recently that I started getting involved. Maybe about six to, I don't know. I would say about 6 months ago, maybe a little bit more than that. And then when I looked at the situation, it looked pretty political. Matter of fact, it looked like there was a lot of showboating going on, a lot of fake news going on. It almost seems like it was all socially engineered to trick the general public, I should say, the unwitting, into and then the whole point of Roger Ver coming out talking about Bitcoin Unlimited and how that was and increasing the block size was more important than transaction malleability. It, it just seemed like he was just lying through his teeth on that, uh, just to get a larger block size increase. But from my research and what I could tell, it seemed like we needed Segwit before we needed to increase the block size. And that's when I started really digging in a little bit more, and I really think it was more control over the network, specifically I think with Bitmain. And as time went on, I mean, it became more and more about Bitmain, and it seems to hold true. But this whole point of the Segwit 2x being activated, I think would have never happened if it wasn't for the user activated soft fork on August 1st. But I'm still keeping alert because I'm not sure if this will go through. I'll be happy when there's Segwit, and then we'll see what happens with the potential 2 MB increase, because that's still a contentious issue, because I think a lot of users don't want an increase because of what I believe is empowering the Chinese miners specifically, because it does seem like that's where all the tension is specifically with the Chinese miners ever since the Hong Kong agreement. So
Yeah. In regards to Roger Ver, I'll be honest with you, I have a lot of respect for Roger, just because, he's been in the space for a long time, and he's obviously been around, like he knows a few things. But I agree. I think he let his emotions and ambitions kind of drive him too much, and he just kind of lost sight of some actual facts. Like, for example, I did a video talking about him. There was a news article on news.bitcoin where it was talking about how there's 2 patents that potentially segregated witness or Bitcoin core team is violating or whatever. He commented in the comment section saying, I wonder if it has any links to Blockstream. And I called him out, and I was like, well, if you go to the actual patents and you look at who made them, it was by, I think it was by Sony that owned the patents. So it's like, you can't let your ambitions blind you from the truth. And I think that's what happened with Roger. I will say too, I don't think Roger's even a bad guy, because he actually responded to the video I had made on Steemit. He even apologized, like, "Oh, sorry, I should have."
Is he on Steemit? Is Roger?
He is on. Yeah, he is. He is on Steemit.
Okay, go ahead. I got some questions for you about Steemit, but go ahead with your story.
Yeah, no, yeah, he just responded saying, oh, I should have looked, and I was like, just don't let your ambitions blind you from the truth, man. Because that is a big problem when you let that happen. And because I really do believe Roger wants to see Bitcoin succeed. Like, I really do believe that. I don't know if you've ever seen that video of him where he's talking about how Bitcoin can end wars and all that kind of stuff. He gets all emotional and whatnot. Sure, that could be show, but it actually does have that potential. Like, Bitcoin does have that potential. Because if you take away the money from the banksters that start all these wars, then they can't start wars and there won't be any more war. So it does have that potential. And I think he does see what Bitcoin can do. I just don't know if he's really seeing, he's looking long term. I think he's just letting, again, his ambitions run wild. And I will say this, I've heard, and this could be totally wrong, that Segwit and the Bitcoin Core team has ties to Blockstream. And for those who do not know, Blockstream has ties to AXA. AXA's CEO, and I can't remember his name right now, he's a Bilderberg member, a regular Bilderberg member. And that is very interesting. You gotta, again, like we mentioned earlier, there's always stuff going on behind the scenes. And I'm just curious, you've got a Bilderberg member directly involved with Blockstream that could be potentially influencing segregated witness. And I'm curious, again, that's from what I understand, that's what I've heard. Is that correct?
I've heard about that. I mean, that's kind of interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because you know, you're bringing things up from what you heard, right? Like
Right.
The core members are influenced by the Bilderberg group, and you know, we hear this stuff from Amanda Johnson and Roger Ver and some other people that core is a sock puppet for these groups. Um, from what I understand, it's block. If Blockstream is, I think they only employ a small group of a larger group of core developers. I don't know how much influence they can have. It just seems a little. It just seems stretching it a little bit. There may be something to it. Maybe a member of the Bilderberg group from AXA who invested into Blockstream. Maybe they do want something to do with Bitcoin, but to say that they control Bitcoin because of that, I think that's stretching it just a little bit because I don't see
Right.
how that could be done. I just don't see it because when I look at the development team, from what I understand, it's a group, a relatively more than 10 people. All right, let's say more than 10 people who actually develop, and then there's hundreds more who will review the code. I can't see how a malicious code can be introduced into Bitcoin that way. And you know, and plus there's other people who will look at the code because it's open source. So
Right.
it's kind of stretching it. If anything, I would say it's a person who may go to the Bilderberg group, who works at AXA, and that company invested into Blockstream. Maybe because
Well, he started
there's
it.
some. I'm
He
sorry.
started the AXA CEO. He actually started Blockstream.
Okay, AXA CEO
Yeah.
started Blockstream.
Right.
Maybe there's some potential there, and you know, if if Bitcoin is a threat, I would say that's a good way to make sure that you're how can I say this? If there's a threat that's coming your way, wouldn't it be wise that you might want to be a part of it if there's a
Yeah.
threat, and if it does take over your way of life or your way of industry, it would be a good idea that you might be involved in that emerging industry, so you could be a leader. Whether they take it over or corrupt it, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think it's more of a business decision than any conspiracy. That's just my opinion,
Right.
because it's literally, I think they only have two core members on the two people on the core development team
Right.
for Blockstream. is what I understand.
And not everyone that's involved in the Bilderberg group are bad people. And that's the other thing you got to look at. Not everybody there is looking for global dominance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Sure, there's a lot of them there, especially guys like Kissinger and all those scumbags, but not everybody there is looking to control the world. So yeah, you're absolutely right. But it is something to question, and you do have to at least address it, and you have to confront those people and talk to them. Hey, what's the deal here? What's going on? You do have to at least ask those questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And I think Tone Vase, if you ever watch Tone Vase, he does address that, and so he's brought that up. But yeah, I've heard a lot of that too, and I just don't see a strong connection. I don't, it's one thing to say that this AXA, the insurance company, owns employs every Blockstream member or a majority. Then I would be concerned, and then I would say there's something to it. But to have one company out of many companies out there, and out of many developers that only employ two of the developers, I don't think it holds much water. But I would raise an eyebrow if this got more serious. Yes, I would.
Right. And it's not as bad as Vitalik Buterin getting $100K from Peter Thiel, who's on the steering committee of the Bilderberg Group. I mean, it could be worse, right?
That, Brian, did you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, two things. One, if there are people who are, defending their industry and their way of life, then if they don't have control over Bitcoin, they will gain control over some other blockchain asset of some kind. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, if I was an industry like the banking industry or finance industry, and I saw this emerging technology come about, and it would be worth it, in my interest, to try to get involved with them. If anything, eventually to buy them out and then kill them, or at least understand that my industry may be a threat, because they're not stupid people. Because all industries eventually collapse and being replaced by new industries. That's happened over time. That's just it's
the nature of the free market.
Yeah, nature of the free markets. So for them to put money into it, but I see Ethereum being more corrupted than I do with Bitcoin being corrupted by any group of industry or industry leaders.
The second thing I wanted to say was, the true conspiracy here are the ICOs. And speaking of Vitalik, it was just the other day, I don't remember with whom we were speaking, but they brought up some tweets that he sent out about being an advisor to the ICOs. In one tweet, he said, "I've learned that being an advisor really means marketing, not advising." And then in another one, he said, "Hey, there are some people listing me as an advisor and they're not even paying me." So he basically is admitting that he's getting paid to market the ICOs.
That's crazy. So he's actually making money off of promoting ICOs. Yeah, Vitalik.
Well, except for the ones that don't pay him, according to his tweet.
Right. Well, I'm waiting for him to be invited and show up at the Bilderberg group. I mean, it's only a matter of time before they say, "Hey, come on over, we'll have a chat." Because he is getting really involved in the mega institutions. And, let's not forget, there's also Ripple involved in a lot of these banking institutions as well. Ripple's involved, and Ethereum, I think, are two of the big ones that have a lot of, they're stinking. They're smelling pretty bad. They're the dead rat in the attic. You know what I mean? You don't know if it's there, but you can smell it, and something's dead in the attic.
Yes, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of stuff going behind the scenes, and I did not do my license to kill. So if I had a license to kill, I'll tell you what I would do. And I've said this before. I think I would kill Roger Ver for all this nonsense. I would. If I had a license to kill, I would kill Roger Ver, because after all this, I'm thinking, okay, we can't. we can't kill Jianwu because we still need him to manufacture mining rigs and secure the network. We're not going to kill Peter Ruins because
Okay.
developer.
First of all,
Yeah.
no. Okay, please finish, and then I'll respond.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting.
And so I'm thinking, you know, if there's only one person who wouldn't affect the whole network or do any, people wouldn't mind seeing Roger Ver like never come back. So Roger Ver would be the most likely candidate that I would probably kill out of all three of those. So go ahead, Brian.
Jeez, man, it's pretty brutal.
Okay, first of all, I work for a nonviolent civil rights group who was founded on Gandhian principles, right? So I condone none of this killing of which you speak. Now,
All right.
if you're gonna go and kill people anyway, and we're just or no, don't go kill anybody. But as a philosophical, rhetorical conversation, I will entertain it. First of all, going back to the mining, we don't have a lot of industry here in America, period. Right? We have all types of industry that have left some of our greatest cities in shambles and rust. Right? It's one of the reasons that Trump got elected.
Right.
One of those things is we don't produce mining equipment. So you know what? Say something were to happen to Mr. Wu, I don't advocate that, of course, but if he were gone, okay, so that means there aren't any more mining equipments coming out with ASIC boosts on them, and that the people that use those, well, they're not going to be using them anymore because we're going to start producing them, and we're not going to have that in there. And then Americans are going to start mining more, and then we're going to control more of the pool. And then we'll be sitting down at the table, and we won't have to worry or even have these discussions about what China may or may not do or what Roger Ver may or may not do. So instead of killing anybody, let's make mining great again.
I agree. I'm totally with you. You know, and the sad thing was what happened to Butterfly Labs a few years ago. You know, they got shut down. I really wish they had come out with their products. You know, I wish they had released their product to the market and they were successful. At least then there would be competition. I would.
Well,
go ahead.
Well, here's something. The government, you know, they seem to be fighting Bitcoin at every step on legal fronts. Mm-hmm. So I don't see them stepping away from any other means of trying to sabotage Bitcoin, you know?
Right. Yeah, I don't, you know, I will, like I say, I don't advocate killing anybody. Quite frankly, I'll tell you the truth. I'd like to talk to Roger Ver. I'm curious to see what he has to say. Now, do what?
Well, maybe if after hearing this live stream, maybe he'd like to come on and talk to us. So, Roger Ver, if you're listening, you have an open invite.
Well, I don't know if he's interested now. Like you said, I'm gonna kill your ass. Like,
hey, James, is there anyone in the chat?
Oh, yeah. Let me see here. Carlos, Olaf Howski, Trees in the chat. Let's see. Let me see anybody else who was. 21 million went home. So I don't know if Katrina Holiday or Martin Williams. I'm not sure if they're still around. If you're in the chat, please type something.
No, I'm curious to see what Roger has to say, you know, and I want to know all the stuff that's behind the scenes. I don't want to just like talk about, yeah, Bitcoin Unlimited is better because X and Segwit is not good because X. I want to know the dirt. Like, I want to know what he has to say about ASIC boost. I want to know what's going on at Bitmain. I want to know all that stuff. I want to know the down and dirty stuff. You know what I mean?
He's not going to come on here if Ozzy's on.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not going to come on here after what I said. I would kill him. You know. But that's all right because we can just speculate without him. Yeah, that'd be interesting because you know there was a lot of strange things that happened. You know, he started a cloud mining company, which kind of gave him just gave him no credibility. And then I really do feel he was lying about the whole scaling debate throughout the whole process. Either he was duped, or he knew what he was doing and he was lying, and he was just trying to maintain the status quo for the purposes of ASIC boost. Because I know he has invested a lot in his mining pool with Bitmain, and so it'll be interesting to see what he really knew at the time. So either there's only two ways out for him: is to admit that he was duped, or that he knew what he was doing, and I don't know what he's going to do afterwards. But I think this whole thing's not over. It's not over until the fat lady sings, and that won't be until November, at least until September, maybe even next year, until we see whether it's going to fork, or we're actually going to get just Segwit with just the way it was, the BIP 141.
I think there's a lot of shade, you know, like there's a lot of shade with Roger Ver, and that's really the big problem is, okay, so there's that site that he actually pays people to tweet stuff. That's shady as hell. That's really shady. Someone sent me a comment about it the other day. Maybe let me check and see if I can find it on my
Are paying monkeys to tweet for you, is that considered passive aggressive?
Good question. I mean, I just think it's shady as hell. You know, like you're gonna pay someone money to tweet stuff, and you know that they're going to tweet positive things about you and about your projects because you're paying them. That's shady. And then you also had the Bitcoin mining, the cloud mining. That was ridiculous. I was like, come on, man. It's so obvious. It is so obvious. Here is I think this is the site right here.
Well, William, let me ask you, since you got some fresh eyes and fresh perspective, you know, just the whole thing of how Roger Ver's argument all this time was that anybody who talks about Bitcoin Unlimited or bigger block size was being censored. Do you think that's true? Is there any truth to that?
I'll tell you the truth. I actually do believe there is a lot of truth to that. In regards to Reddit, you know, he was discussing Reddit censorship. The big problem there is that that Reddit has been the ones doing the censorship. They've been actively censoring people for a long time, for about a year or two. And so, yeah, I think there is some validity, but I think his accusations are aimed at the wrong people. I think it's probably more towards the issue should be aimed more towards Reddit, because I know like the Donald, for example, there's been censorship over there. Reddit has shut down that subreddit. I mean, they've done all sorts of craziness, and their stock prices have reflected that.
Well, William, another thing with Reddit, it goes back to what you were saying about the AI. There are a lot of bots and a lot of fake accounts that shill on Reddit and will actively, because they pass a certain level of Turing test, will have arguments with people and continue threads and even make posts and defend their posts, and it's all AI doing it, and it gets to the front page and it influences opinion. You know, it's crazy. Right.
I mean, hell, we've got AI now writing whole news articles. You don't know which article is a artificial intelligence written news article or which one's not. They had I think it was one that was covering the Olympics a couple of years back that was artificial intelligence, and it wrote the whole article. But
no fucking way, man. You telling me AIs are fucking writing letters and articles now?
You think I'm playing, but I'll send you the links. It's crazy.
They make Reddit posts and then they defend people and troll people who make comments on their own posts.
That is crazy. You can't trust anything on the internet anymore.
Yeah, here you go. This is it. This was at the Rio Olympics. The Washington Post.
I'll put it in the live chat so people can check it out.
Yeah, here you go. Washington Post to use we'll use robots to write stories about the Rio Olympics. That was last year. It's the wildest thing. And you just see this kind of stuff and you really don't know what to believe and what not to. I just, like I've mentioned earlier, I think Roger Vere's ambitions have blinded him from the truth. And Reddit is highly involved in artificial intelligent programming. They're all in that. And so I'm sure that's what they're doing. I'm sure, absolutely sure that they're probably censoring his posts, censoring other people's posts, using AI. Also, I think you sent the New York Post one.
Okay.
And
let me interrupt here. Anybody who's left in the chat, we have a little special for you. I will post the into the chat or into the Hangout here. If any of you guys want to come into the Hangout for the after behind the scenes Hangout on the live stream, it will not be live. It will be behind the scenes, and so you can come join us and chat with us if you want. That's just for the people who want to do that till the end. So. All right, let's continue with this whole AI bullshit. I mean, this is fucking crazy. So do you think it comes to the point where they have video? I've seen some YouTubers out there put out like an artificial video AI of a person, like as if it was a real person, but it's all fake. It's not a real person. It's just a video made, and the AI is making this video, and they're talking and like having a conversation. You think this is all manufactured to basically control the general population and to mold sentiment?
Absolutely. AI is definitely going to be, at least they're going to attempt to use it as a control mechanism. I think the most recent most recent Star Wars movie, they used a lot of AI in that movie, didn't they? Could be wrong about that, but I remember hearing a story that they used AI to edit some of the footage and make some of that. Let me see if I can find that article. Again, I could be wrong about that, but from what I understand, they did use some artificial intelligence in the new Star Wars movie. Also, I think you sent the other link. I think you posted the other link, James.
The thing when they changed over our television broadcast signals from analog to digital, that's when they had the ability to put anyone doing anything anywhere at any time and display that as evidence against that person.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
They had it beforehand, they had the editing equipment, but they could do it and broadcast then, and it would be, they could do it there in the studio. So yeah, the fake reporter that looks real doing the news story. James, I know you don't game, but you've seen the level of realism that they brought into the games now. Sorry about that. And of course, the VR that is going to kick off as well.
Yeah, that's scary, and what's scary part about it is there's probably a lot of people like me who probably don't believe that there's AI that are bots on Reddit or on Facebook or on Twitter, or even a video form of an AI that people watch on the news. They just think they're watching someone real, and fake news could be made all this time, and they're clueless. This is craziness here.
Well, I'll throw one other bit at you. That guy that I mentioned earlier, Ray Kurzweil, I think he's the chief technology officer at Google, or he's like the chief engineer. He's one of the top guys at Google. He actually has been predicting for years that we're going to end up implanting chips in our brain, where we're going to upload our brains to the cloud, and I will just be able to access it with just thinking about it. And just a couple months ago, Elon Musk came out with a company called Neuralink that will put chips in your brain so you can upload your brain to the cloud. So you just see all this stuff and you think, Man, you know, The Matrix is looking more like a documentary than a movie, just an entertaining movie, because it really is getting to that level. And
Well,
like you
let
say,
me ask you something, William.
mhm.
Obviously, you would need some money while you're in the cloud. Do you think do you think Bitcoins or Litecoins would fulfill that need? Like, you wouldn't even need a body. You just like load your brain up to the cloud, and then you could live forever. Of course, you if you wanted to do something like you want to enter into a quote unquote red room, which you would literally be doing by then, you would need to pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah, you might. Who knows? I mean, but I would venture to guess that it'd probably be Ethereum over Bitcoin and Litecoin. To tell you the truth, I would see Ethereum being that transaction, because again, it's machine to machine, and eventually,
Exactly.
yeah, I would see that, you know, we become most part machine, and that would be a more likely scenario, at least in my mind.
All right. So we put ourselves up to the cloud. We use Ethereum. We come back into our bodies. We use Bitcoin and Litecoin. Is that how it goes?
I guess, man, it's just the wildest stuff, because there was that did you see what Mark Zuckerberg, how he was talking about how you're going to be in a room and that's all you're going to be in. You don't have to have anything in the room. And he was talking about how wonderful to be being in a VR headset, talking to your friends across the world, and you'll be in like a round table, and it's all digital. It's hands down probably the creepiest thing I've ever seen. Um,
You
but
know,
yeah,
I can see that because I do I think augmented virtual reality is probably a wave of the future, and in a lot of ways it might cut out a lot of waste and junk that people don't need. You'll just have a bed, probably with white sheets, a couch, white sheets on it, right? A table, and then you just put on your VR goggles, or maybe they're implanted in your eyeballs, and you can design your house, your plain vanilla square house any way you want. You want to be in the middle of the ocean, you want to be in front of the beach, you got
yeah.
it. And eventually, but in reality, you just live a very simple, very low cost life. But in virtual reality, in an augmented world, you could have whatever you want, and that may satisfy you. You may not have the desire to go out and try to make money or scam. Maybe you don't have to scam anymore. All you have to do is do some kind of simple work, and that would fulfill your life needs. And then everything else is just a virtual reality. You don't have to make things anymore. You don't have to produce things. You could just have everything you want for a very low cost, and live a pretty good life. What do you think about that?
I'll tell you the truth. I actually like the idea of augmented reality. Like for example, the Microsoft HoloLens. Those are so cool. Like if you're designing something and you want to have it in 3D, you can put on your augmented reality headset and you can see the design and see how all the different parts would work before you build it. That type of stuff is really positive. I think that's really good stuff. But the whole virtual reality thing, and I would hope that people would have a little better taste than just a bed and white sheets. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm saying
I would,
that's what you really have, because physically
right,
that's all you need is just a bed with white sheets. But
right.
when you put on your virtual augmented reality, hell, it's leopard skin, and you're in your car, right? In your car, your plain Jane Hyundai or Honda car, that costs only a couple thousand. Well, you could turn that into a Lambo. You could just like say, I want a Lambo today, and there you go. You're driving a Lambo. I mean, it could
God.
be it could just be a
As,
mental masturbation is what it could be.
well, I think though, if you wanted to develop stuff like that, eventually we're going to get to the point where we can just 3D print everything, but it's like 4D printing, and you could 4D print a Ferrari, for example, down to like the exact specifications, and it wouldn't hardly cost you anything to do it. You know what I mean? That I could see being a really positive thing, but I don't know if I like the idea of, I'm in my Hyundai, poof, Ferrari. Well, I don't know. I don't know, because in your head, for a fact that it's not real.
Well,
Like,
think about virtual reality games. People pay money for skins and special objects, right?
that's true.
In those games, I mean, that's not any different than maybe what you do in real life. You're just paying a skin for your car. Maybe that's the new thing, and they're copyrighted or patented, right? So you have to pay a certain amount, you know. But you're really driving a little piece of shit Hyundai.
But if somebody else is wearing the augmented reality viewer, they're going to see that you spent the money to get that skin. So it'll impress them just the same.
Yeah, you know, at that
Right.
point, it's just it's a status, right? A social status. I mean, even a Lambo in real life, it's just a social status, really,
That's true.
right? I mean, do you really care about the guy who blew who's so rich he has a Lambo? But it's symbolic, you know,
It's like,
and that
I'm
way,
rich, you know.
yeah. Well, at least you don't have to waste the money and the material on building a Lambo. By then, probably all the materials in the world are going to be built for making spaceships, right? I mean, that's where all the
That's
material
true.
should be going to.
Now that's going to be fun. That is going to be the coolest thing. And I'm telling you, we'll see the colonization of Mars within our lifetime. I know Elon Musk is huge into doing that. Like he wants to terraform Mars within the next 20 to 25 years. And Stephen Hawking just had a talk today saying that in the next 50 years we'll be colonized on Mars. So we're going to see that type of stuff within our lifetime. And it's going to be quite an interesting development.
All
Well, you
right.
know, they had a Nat Geo or a History Channel special about the trip to Mars and the colonization of Mars, and the protagonist was strangely Elon Musk-like, and we all know they use things like this to prep us for it. So yeah, they're doing a push for it in a lot of different forms of media.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let me tell everyone that we're getting almost to 2 hours. I mean, we're getting
Wow.
we're going crazy here, here and there. But I think it's a very interesting conversation. I will post a link to the lives, well, to the Google Hangouts here for any of our audience or in the live chat that want to join us in the behind the scenes and want to chat for a little bit. I know Brian and William, if you have the time, we'll chat a little bit. And anybody else, again, in the audience, I'm going to post it in the chat here so you guys can join us. And I think this is going to conclude this episode here. We've had a lot of fun here. Before we leave, William, please tell everyone how we can get in contact with you. I have your channel in the notes section, so they can get in contact with you that way. But what's the other way?
So I am on gab.ai at the same name, and I'm also you can shoot me an email if you want to. It's blackburnsbitcast@protonmail.com, and you can send me an email there. I'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have. Those are really the two best ways to reach me, though, because those what I'm focused on.
All right,
But yeah,
and of course, Brian, everyone knows how to reach you, but just say it anyway for anybody who's watching.
Well, it's different because, as you told me last time, I haven't set up the email contact on YouTube, and I still haven't done that. So just leave a comment on one of my videos, and I'll see it, and then I'll initiate contact through other means.
All right, thank you.
One other way too, I totally forgot. Steam. You can add me on Steemit. I'm on there as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Steemit. Let's spend a little bit of time on Steemit. What is your experience on Steemit? Because I am not a big fan of Steemit. I think it's a Ponzi, or at least a pyramid, because you have to buy into the token for other people to get paid out. Otherwise, the site would run out of money. So please tell us your experience on Steemit.
I'll be honest, as a platform, it's great. As a currency, it sucks. I mean, that's kind of the way I see it. It's a great platform. It's a great idea. The fact that you can get paid to post your content just boom, directly like that, that's cool. I like that. But as a currency, it's pretty worthless. So I mean, that's kind of my view on it, but I've liked it. I mean, I've enjoyed Steemit, honestly. I think it's pretty nice. The layout's nice, it's simple, it's straightforward, and but like you say, as a currency, it's not very good. The handle there actually is @Desolator2B. And yes, I know it was my gamer tag since I was like 10, so I've never changed it.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate everyone in the chat. I'll ask everyone to, I don't normally ask, but if you all enjoyed this content and the conversation we had, please like and please subscribe. And also please check out William here, William Bentley Blackburn. Check out his channel. And of course, please check out Brian's channel. He has some good, he doesn't have a lot of videos, but he does make videos once in a while. And of course, he's in New York if you ever want to get in contact with him over there. So this concludes this episode. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye, everyone.